Welcome to Answering the Call, the official podcast of the 12-Man Foundation. Our show brings you closer to the heart of Texas A&M athletics through stories of perseverance, purpose, and opportunity made possible by 12-Man Foundation donors. Hear firsthand from the student athletes, coaches, staff, and donors who are driving the success and future of Aggie athletics. Let's dive into today's episode. Howdy, and welcome back to another episode of Answering the Call, the official podcast of the 12-Man Foundation. I'm your host, Ivy Robinson, and right now I'm joined in studio by Texas A&M Director of Football Strength and Conditioning, Tommy Moffitt. Coach, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
You're very welcome. I'm excited.
We are excited for the conversation. And, I've got to start with this because right before we started this episode, we were talking about you have some podcast experience.
Yes, I do.
Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yes. So when I retired from coaching, I was really bored and really didn't know what I was going to do. So some friends of mine and I started a company. We still have the company. It's called the Moffitt Method. And it is a speed, strength, and conditioning program for high school athletes, small colleges, junior colleges, and some universities, and then laymen, just people who are looking to get in shape. And so as a means of brand awareness, I started a podcast, and I shot somewhere or recorded somewhere around 60 episodes, and it's on all the, normal platforms out there, from Apple Podcasts to whatever. It's easy to find. And we also have a YouTube channel, the Moffitt Method. So they're available. Yeah, they were video podcasts. So it was me and my guest, and we shot videos of it all. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. So I'm familiar with this technology.
The podcasting world. Yeah. You're used to the mic. Yeah. Well, we love that. I've got to know, the Moffitt Method, you said, it's a company. Mm-hmm. Tell me more about that and where that originated and the idea and who it benefits.
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time as a collegiate coach and a high school coach long ago, helping others do what I do and have always done. There were always so many questions from high school kids or high school coaches, parents, about what we did with our players. So in order to continue giving back, we started this company, and it is an online coaching tool for people who do not have strength coaches. So there's a lot of high schools all across the country. They have strength and conditioning programs, for all their different teams, but they don't have a certified speed, strength, and conditioning coach in the building to write their program. And so if they are blessed enough to have someone, it's usually a football coach. And if that coach were to leave, the strength and conditioning program went with them. So we started this company, and it's online. We write the programs for you, and we distribute it through a product called Team Builder. And so every athlete, coach, equipment manager, athletic trainer, and administrator who needs that data, we send it out every morning at around 5 a.m., and it's updated live on your cell phone or tablet or laptop. So the kids can look at the program before they get to school, and they perform the program. And there's also printable copies or versions of the program as well. But it just adds another layer to a high school program that is looking for a progressive, well-researched program for their sports. And we cover all sports, both men and women's sports, youth sports. So we do a lot of different stuff for young athletes, and it was a lot of fun. I'm busy now coaching at Texas A&M, but I still have people that are running the company, and it's doing well.
That's awesome. And what a great resource for those programs. I mean, I can see how valuable that is because, some high school programs, they're limited on staff, and how valuable to have something as a guide, and to have those videos and instructional resources to refer back to. And that's cool that you send that out so early. That way the kids can have access to it and see what they're going to be doing that day. And
and the coaches. And you can also look at videos. So we have over 600 instructional videos that come with the program. So it's also a teaching model as well, because the young athletes and coaches and everyone can watch the exercises that they're going to perform that day before the workout ever begins. And then if a young man or a young lady doesn't finish their workout for that day, then they can go home or go to the local health club or wherever and perform those exercises. And we would always tell the coaches and administrators that no matter where the athlete goes, the Moffitt Method goes with them because it's on their phone. It was helpful for a lot of people and still is today.
For sure. How can people get on board and sign up?
Yeah, great question. So just go to the moffittmethod.fit, and there's a bot there that you can talk to, and there's a phone number as well.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing some insight on that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
The company's still running today, and what a great resource. Changing topics really quick. I've got to know, give us a picture of what the past 3 to 4 months has looked like for you in our football program right now and getting our athletes in shape for the upcoming season.
Yes. So when spring football finished in April, we sat down as a staff and we devised a program for the players to do during the month of May while they were at home. So we sent them a 3-day-a-week program that they were supposed to do so that when they showed up in June, they would all be in shape and had been lifting. So instead of having to get into shape, both running and lifting, they were already prepared for that. So the guys really did a good job during the month of May. They came back, they were in shape, they were ready to train. So the month of June and July has been tough. It's been hot. It's just us. There's not a lot going on around here. But they've trained hard. So we started the month of June lifting 4 days a week and running 4 days a week. And then we added 2 skill development days on Monday and Wednesday with the football staff. So they were training, that would be 10 times a week. So 8 training sessions a week with us and 2 with the coaches. So we did that for the month of June, and then we took a week off for the 4th of July, and then the players came back. So the summer's been going well. The guys have been working hard. We've set some records. We've had a lot of guys break some personal records, and their attitude and effort has been amazing.
And that sounds great. That sounds fantastic. Getting everybody in shape for this upcoming season. Yeah. You know, I should have asked this earlier, but what are the key pillars and the kind of the foundation of the Moffitt Method and how you structure your strength and conditioning program?
Yes, thank you. That's a great question. So y'all must be football fans.
I love
y'all are
football.
dialed in on this.
Yes.
So probably the most important thing is discipline first, and not necessarily like staying with your toes behind the line type of discipline, but the discipline that it takes to go to bed every night, get 8 hours of sleep, to eat 3 good meals a day, to take your supplements, to make sure you're properly hydrated, and then go to the training room to get your treatment, your rehab, and your regeneration. That is the most important thing, to have the discipline that an NFL pro would have. And for a lot of these young men, the NFL's not going to be something that they're going to be blessed with the opportunity to do, because they take less than 1%. So it's important that if you're going to play this game and your goal is to go to the next level, you have to be a pro now. You can't wait until 3 months before the NFL draft to start prepping to be a pro. You have to walk like a pro, talk like a pro, think like a pro, and train like a professional all the time. And that takes a great deal of self-discipline. And so that's the most important thing. And then after that, allow us to push you in the direction for you to be able to achieve those dreams. If what we did was easy, if winning a SEC championship and winning a national championship were easy, then everyone would be doing it. And my job is to lead those young men and show them how that this is done. And so they got to want to follow me. And that's tough sometimes, because I'm old and I don't look like a college football player, and I'm beat down. And so, who would want to follow that old man? But I'm not an internet personality or Instagram kind of person. So it takes a lot of belief in me as their coach and for them to follow me. And and to then train like you have to train. And it's not a sometimes thing, it's an all the time thing. It has to be on your mind. In fact, the first thing that I think of every morning when I wake up, unfortunately, isn't my wife and my 3 children and my grandchild. It's our football team. Mm-hmm. And so that's how they've got to think. It's not a part-time job. It's a full-time job to train in order to help us win an SEC championship and to be the player that they want to be. So having said all of that, speed is the most important quality of any field sport. The fastest players are the most productive players and the most successful players. So it's important to be very fast. We start every week, and we have started every week since I've been here, Monday, with max velo sprinting. So we're going to sprint to be as fast as we possibly can. Then after that, we go into the weight room on those speed days, Monday and Thursday, after we finish sprinting. And it's not like sprinting per se for conditioning. It's different than that. It's sprinting with maximum recovery so that you can get faster. It's more central nervous system related. So you have to sprint really fast and then recover and then sprint really fast. So we don't cover a great deal of distance. And a lot of times people, they think of sprinting and speed development as kind of like conditioning, but it's not. You actually finish that workout feeling real good, and fresh. After we finish with that, we go into the weight room, and then that's our explosive strength day. So there's 2 types of strength. There's one that's really fast, which is really explosive strength or power. And then the other is maximum strength, which is slow. And it's grinding. And so on Mondays and Thursdays, we sprint, and then we go into the weight room and develop that explosive strength where we lift moderately heavy weights, but at a very fast speed. And we track that to make sure that they're hitting certain thresholds and velocities that we know through the literature is going to make you more explosive and dynamic. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, those are our slower days so that they'll come into the weight room first, and we're training for strength. So the bench press, the squats, and things of that nature. And then we go outside and we do our conditioning, which is slower and the distances are much longer. And that's the ones where, you get really tired and it takes you a day or so to recover from that type of work. So the pillars would be, number 1, discipline. Number 2, doing what I tell you to do. And then number 3, it would be to develop the fastest human being that we could possibly put on the field. And then to develop explosive and maximum strength.
So fascinating, because I don't think the average fan, when they hear strength and conditioning, they think of, y'all really studying data.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I mean, I don't work in football specifically, but that's so interesting that y'all are tracking that, and it makes sense too, right? Because to see that progression, that's helps y'all as a coaching staff make decisions on, okay, what do we need to change to alter things here? But yeah, it's very interesting how granular y'all get. And
Yes, so on a normal day, we will track our players with at least 3 different devices. We track them with this device, it's called 1080 Sprint. It's a device that's actually attached to their body via a belt, and it's got this long string that is attached to a device that measures a lot of different types. We probably track 10 different metrics from that, and then they're wearing a GPS device as well that tracks similar metrics, but then others as well. And then we track them in the weight room with Perch, which tracks the barbell velocity. They jumped on a force plate yesterday, which tests their lower body strength and power and asymmetries and things of that nature. So yesterday, they were tracked by 4 devices just yesterday. And we tell them during the recruiting process as a Texas A&M Aggie football player, every time they wiggle, we measure it. And so that gives us evidence to base our training on versus experience and intuition, which, still has a place, but everything that we do is data-driven.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. I feel like it's essential for successful programs for sure. Now, taking a step back, can you tell us, I know we're changing directions here, but I want to touch on your upbringing Tell us a little about where you're from. I know
Yes.
Tennessee. And then tell us how you first got involved in sports in general.
So I'm originally from a small farming community in North Middle Tennessee. So I grew up halfway between Nashville and the Kentucky state line in a community that raised a lot of the similar crops that you have here, wheat and corn and soybeans. But my county was at one time the world's largest producer of dark-fired tobacco. So that is the type of tobacco that you make cigar rollers out of, chewing tobacco, snuff, and things of that nature. And so I grew up working on a farm, farming and working in the tobacco fields as far back as I can remember.
Wow.
I was working on a farm and did a lot of different stuff that you do on the farm, baling hay and feeding milk cows and all that. But that's where I grew up. And then the athletics part and strength and conditioning came from having a big family. I had older brothers that played high school sports. And I had a football coach that was big into the weight room. And back then, and I'm talking like I'm old, so I was lifting weights with my junior high and high school coaches, in the 70s, where, it wasn't real common back then, but we were doing it at Springfield High School. And so my dad was a member of the Optimist Club, which is kind of like the Lions Club, and they sponsored all the youth sports in my hometown. So I grew up playing baseball for my dad. He was my Little League baseball coach, so I grew up playing Little League baseball, Little League football, and then I started wrestling. And so in high school, I ended up wrestling and playing football. So I got a scholarship to play football at Tennessee Tech University. And the weightlifting and the training had all been ingrained in me via my older brothers and my junior high. Because when I was in the sixth or seventh grade, we were lifting weights in an organized weight program, believe it or not. And that was like 1975 or 1976. So that's a long time ago, 50 years ago. So when I got to college, it was kind of a natural progression. My strength coach, Jack Williamson, and I really hit it off in college. And in fact, I tell people all the time, my collegiate strength coach is the first person who contacts me after every football game that I have coached via text or phone call.
Really?
He is the first text message that I get. I usually get one the morning of the game from him. I get one pregame from him, and then I'll get one depending on how well we're playing at halftime. And then when the game is over, I have a text from collegiate strength coach. So he kind of made me want to be a strength coach. I didn't know that it was a profession. I didn't know that you could earn a living doing it. So when I graduated from college, moved to Louisiana to be a high school strength coach and football coach and wrestling coach and track coach at a school. It's called John Curtis Christian School in New Orleans, Louisiana. And I had the opportunity to work for the coach, J.T. Curtis. So his family owned the school. And Coach Curtis is now the winningest coach in all of football. He's won more football games than any coach at any level. So I was blessed with some good mentors as a young coach. And from there, I went to the University of Tennessee. I was there for 4 years from 1994 to 98. And then I went to the University of Miami for 2 years. And so my first year at Miami, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Sam Nader, who was an athletic director and the director of operations for football at LSU, called and asked me if I'd be interested in the job. And I told him no. I just gotten to Miami. I really liked it. And, so respectfully declined the offer. And so then the next year, I knew that our head coach was going to go to the NFL, Butch Davis then at the time. I knew he was going to be an NFL coach, and I wanted to coach in college. And so LSU called again and entertained the offer and ended up taking the job at LSU. And I was there for 21 football seasons at LSU as the director of strength and conditioning. So when Brian Kelly, after the 2021 season, when Brian Kelly got the job at LSU, I was one of 60 guys that got let go, or men and women. 60 of us got let go. And because I had been in the LSU system for so long, I could retire. So that's what I did. I took my retirement and thought that I was going to start a podcast and a business and live happily ever after. But boy, I miss football bad.
Yeah.
And one of my coaches on the LSU staff, when we all got let go, he got a job at Duke. Jeremy Jacobs. Coach Jacobs he's actually now, he left here to become the head strength coach at Kansas State for Colin Klein. But Jeremy, when he got to Duke, he started calling me, and we were talking about Coach Elko and all the different things he was doing. So I became a Duke Blue Devils fan and watched and bragged on him. And so,
kind of like advocating from afar. Yeah, just like, fan.
Like that's my guy, because I had to have another team. And so I picked the Duke Blue Devils. And so when Coach Elko got named for this job, Jeremy called and told me that the strength coach at Duke wasn't going to come and that, Coach Elko didn't have anyone for the job. And so I said, well, give me his number. So I started calling Coach Elko. It just hit me just like that. I went from not coaching to coaching in a matter of like 24 hours.
So something, and you're like, yep, I've got to talk to him.
I'm all in on it. And I guess it's just because of all the great things that Coach Jacobs had said about Coach Elko. And I saw it materialize on TV, how they went from being a program that was kind of middle of the road in the conference.
You're right, revitalized it.
Revitalized it from the bottom up. And so I said, man, I'm all in. And so I called Coach Elko so many times that he called Jeremy and told Jeremy to tell me to stop calling. Yeah.
So at that point, you'd never met him, actually.
No, I didn't know him. I didn't know anyone on his staff but Jeremy. But my dad always told me that the dog that barks the loudest always gets fed first. So I kept barking. I was actually hunting, and I've told this story a lot because it's so cool. But I was hunting. I was in a deer stand with my oldest son, and I shot a deer, and it wasn't like 2 minutes after I shot the deer, my phone started buzzing, and it was Chad Clunder. Coach Chad from upstairs called me and said that Coach Elko wanted to speak with me about the job here. And so I said, okay. Wow. That evening, I talked to Coach Elko. Once we got back to the camp, my son was mad because he had to clean my deer. But
you're like that. Yeah, you're going to take care of that. I've got more important matters over here.
After I visited with Coach Elko, Chad called me back and said, when can we get you in here for an interview? And I said, I can come tomorrow. And he's like, well, we can't get a plane. We won't be able to get a plane because it was near the holidays. We won't be able to get a plane until Monday. I said, what if I drive? And he goes, you would drive? And I said, heck yeah. So I got up the next morning, drove here, interviewed, and then drove back to Baton Rouge and got the job. So
oh my goodness.
That's how it all happened.
What a story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Drove all that way. You're like, I'll be there.
Yeah.
Wait on a plane.
Got in my truck.
And it sounded like the stars aligned there. You shot the deer. You got the phone call. Like everything's looking up right here.
Yeah. And it's been great ever since I got here. It's been great.
What a time. Tell us about, coming to Aggieland officially and integrating into the program and getting to build the strength and conditioning program specifically. What's been the most rewarding so far? What have you enjoyed about the staff and the players and just being a part of Texas A&M?
Yeah, great question. The most rewarding thing, or the thing that I cherish the most, has been the people. And it doesn't matter which department it's been. And even outside the university, the community here and the people that make up College Station and Bryan are really, really good people. And I like living here in this community. Yeah, I mean, it's been great. And I've been blessed with some incredible jobs throughout my career. I've never had a bad job. But when you get as old as I am, you start looking at the little things mean more today than they did when I was 30 years old, starting my career in college and coaching. And the people that you deal with on a day-to-day basis, their willingness to help you do the things that you need to do in order for this team to be successful has been the thing that I've enjoyed most. Our players have been phenomenal. And Coach Elko, he gives me a hard time all the time because I talk about how good our players are, about they communicate so well. They have really good self-confidence and self-esteem. They speak well. They come into the weight room every day with a great attitude, and they do everything that we ask them to do. In college football, and the thing that people don't understand the most, I think, is how much work that these young men and young women and everyone that works in our department, how hard they work on a daily basis is mind-boggling.
It's a lot of hours.
Yes.
So many hours.
And it comes from people who earn a very good living, and then there are people who are just starting out in the industry who aren't making a lot of money at all, but their commitment to the 12th man and this football program is extraordinary. And that's the part that I love about this, that you just can't get everywhere you go. Our players have worked incredibly hard, and we've come a long way, and we've still got miles and miles to go before we rest. Mm-hmm. But it's been a great time in my 2.5 years. It's been a lot of fun and very, very rewarding.
That's awesome to hear. And what you had said there about the 12th man and how this community, this place, it's a great place to be, right? And Aggies, they support, they show up. The support is off the charts.
Yeah.
Football, everybody's seen it on Aggie home football game days, Kyle Field packed.
Yeah.
What has been, I want to know specifically your perspective of just even our facilities that we have here and how that translates to our 12th Man Foundation donor and even season ticket holders who pay to come to every single home game. Seeing that support on display truly from your perspective, being inside the program, how does it compare to other places you've been in your career?
Every time I look on my phone and I see a ranking of the average attendance to an Aggie football game in Kyle Field, it's 106,000 people. And so I'm going to give a shout out to Nolan Kane. Welcome back, Nolan. But when I first got here, Nolan and I are friends from Baton Rouge, and so I've known Nolan since he was a player at LSU. But when I interviewed here, when I finished my interview, I drove over to Bluebell Park and visited with Nolan. And Nolan told me this, but I didn't believe him. And he told me about they had a big recruiting weekend planned for the baseball players in Kyle Field. And the week before, they'd had a bad, tough loss the Aggies had. And they were worried that having this big recruiting weekend that, the fans might not show up. And Nolan says, and I don't remember the particulars about who they were playing or anything, but he said they walk into the stadium with the baseball recruits and there's 106,000 people there screaming their heads off. And it's not like that everywhere you go. You have a bad weekend. And listen, no one hates losing more than I do. But unfortunately, in this business, it happens. And when it does, some fan bases kind of fall apart on you, right. And you get some boos and all of that. And I understand it's our job to play well. But the other teams, they recruit, they practice, they train themselves. So it's a competitive conference. But to know that our fans are going to be there week in and week out goes a long way. Mm-hmm. And I hear our players, I'm in the locker room, and I hear our players before the game talk about the 12th man, talk about playing in front of our crowd and how much it means to them and how they deserve us to go out there and play well. And then on the opposite end of that spectrum, I hear our fans talk about how important it is that they show up on Saturdays for the Aggies. In the little area that I live, the first Saturday I woke up, there were flags that people had all in their yards and stuff. And the Aggies run deep here in College Station. That means a lot. And then our facilities, and especially for me, our facilities are unbelievable. And the proximity of the weight room, the locker room, the indoor, Kyle Field, the sand building, the dining facility, the academic center. I mean, the players park 50 yards and they walk, and everything that they need for them to be successful, both academically and athletically, is all right here along the same courtyard.
Would you say that's rare to have that close
It's very
proximity
rare.
in college sports today?
It's very rare. It's very rare. You know, some places, the weight room and the practice fields are here, the stadium's way over here, the academic center's way over there, the dining facilities in another area. I remember a coach that I worked for, he said that working at this place was like going to McDonald's to buy your burger, and then you get in the car and drive down the street to get your French fries, and then you go over the railroad tracks to get your milkshake, and then you have to go somewhere else to get your apple pie because everything is so spread out. But here, I mean, it's within 40 yards of one another. Like, our players are so blessed to have these facilities at their disposal and the proximity that it is to everything.
For sure. Yes. I mean, and just to have all that housed within Graham Athletic Complex right here, I mean, just south of Kyle Field, it's just, from what I've gathered, you know, just talking to coaches and multiple student athletes that we've had on the show, that it's helps with efficiency. And they also, especially this building that we're in right now, the Adam Season Academic and Wellness Center, this is kind of like the hub for everyone. And they value being able to eat in the Clark Nutrition Center and see different teams and people, you know, their friends from other teams, other coaches, and just connect and, you know, support. And so I feel like it's just culture-wise, these facilities, they add so much. And also, I'm sure it helps recruiting as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can walk right out of the weight room and look up, and there's Kyle Field. We're in the shadows of Kyle Field right now, and the indoor is practically attached to the stadium. I mean, it might be 30 feet from the stadium, and then here's this building. It's amazing.
Getting to come and be a part of this program and utilize that indoor, the Coolidge Football Performance Center. I mean, what was that for you, being able to utilize that awesome facility?
Every time I show it to someone, because that's usually the first place I take them, because and I've coached at some pretty good places and never seen anything the size and the vastness and then all of the amenities that it has. In addition to just being a large indoor practice facility, it's got a training room in there. It's got a weight room. It's got a sound system. It's heated and cooled. You've got, entrances to the outside world, the parking lot outside of Kyle Field. You can venture right out onto the practice fields with the big roll-up doors, and it's not just like, I've been at places where everyone on the football team had to go through just a regular door, one door. Whereas this place is just amazing. And in fact, of all the places that I've worked, you could probably take their football buildings, and I'm looking back thinking, I think you could probably take their entire football facility, including their indoor, and place it inside our indoor practice field.
Wow.
That's how large it is.
That's insane. Well, speaking of our football team and kind of looking ahead for the upcoming season, what would you say are the main goals, the focuses for the season, and kind of give us some insight into how the team's looking I just started sweating. I got sweat coming. So the team is looking really good. I mean, they're in shape, they're strong, they're fast, and they're ready. So they had a brief layoff from the player development, and when the coaches aren't working with them in the player development, then that's our time. So we get to run them extra and stuff. So the first workout when the coaches came back, the players were so excited because they didn't have to run with us. They were so fired up. And, the main thing is coming together as a football team. We added almost 40 guys, I think, or over 40 guys to the roster in January with the transfer portal and our incoming freshmen. So the main thing is to practice and get our timing down, get our alignment, our assignment, and make sure that we can execute the play. That's the most important thing. And again, discipline, eliminating the pre-snap penalties and making sure that we're all lined up
where we're supposed to be lined up and be able to adjust on the fly. All the stuff that goes into making a good football team. It's critical. Right now, the size and speed and strength of all of that, the measurables, they're in place. Now you have to get those intangibles, knowing where you're supposed to be and executing the play. And I feel good about the season. I'm excited. I'm not going to jinx myself. No predictions from me. But I think we're going to be very competitive. I think our guys are going to be ready to play come kickoff. And I feel really good about it. I mean, they've worked so hard. They've worked incredibly hard to get to where they are now, and I feel good about it. I really do. I love their attitude, their effort, their focus, their concentration has all been good. We've worked incredibly hard this summer of eliminating mistakes in our training, because if we have misalignment and motion penalties and encroachment penalties and stuff in our training, that's going to carry over to football practice. And you play like you practice. So we've worked our butts off this summer to make sure that all of that is tidied up and ready to go. And I feel good about it. I really do. We've got great depth. We just have to come together as a team.
For sure. Out of curiosity, what does your role look like on an actual game day from a strength and conditioning perspective? I know you're on the sideline, right?
Chairs and stuff like that, but sideline control, not a lot. I warm them up, so we play a big role in getting them ready to play the game. And then after that, it's just sideline control and demeanor. Make sure that nobody's running out on the field when they're not supposed to keep them back. It's an automatic 15-yard penalty if the official comes in contact with someone on their sideline. So that's our job. So if that happens, everybody scream at me. So I'm ready for it. So that's the main thing. It's just making sure that everybody stays back and not out on the field. And that's it. So I have the best seat in the house.
For sure. I mean, you can't beat that. And just a couple more questions for you before we wrap up today. When reflecting on 30 plus years in coaching, what still motivates you and gets you excited to come to work every day?
The young men, I love it. I don't know. I don't know if it's that I've never grown up or I'm old enough to appreciate the opportunity to spend with these young men who are really again, people have no idea how hard these young men work. And, they're getting paid today, and they should have been paid a long time ago. In fact, I wish I would have had NIL when I played. I didn't get anything. I had 3 meals a day, and I got my degree. But there's a lot more work. In fact, I used to tell our players that if you leave this university without a championship or a diploma, then the only thing that you carry with you are scars. And so it's a little different today, because the guys are making money and they're getting paid. But we're getting every bit of it from them because, the effort that they put forth, the dedication that these guys have for this great sport and all that it takes to be successful, I just like to be around it. I like to be a part of it. I love watching them overcome the fear of failure or the fear of lifting this amount of weight or the fear of completing this running workout, and then watching them do it and see the expressions on their face when they accomplished it is just so rewarding. And, trust me, I tried for 2 years to go without it, and I couldn't. I mean, I just felt like there was this empty, space.
Still had more to give.
Yeah, I still had a lot more to give, and I would have done anything. I'd made my mind up. I was going to coach somewhere. If Coach Elko hadn't have called me, there's no telling where I would have been, but I was going. And so that's the thing that I love most is just working with the young men. And everybody else within the department, too. There's a lot of good people in every athletic department that I've ever worked in, and I'll be friends with those people for life. And so that's what keeps bringing me back.
Yeah, just developing the next generation and pouring into the youth and these football student athletes that are going to go out and pursue professional careers or, even go into the business world, whatever it may be, just to be great contributors to society and leaders in this society. So, and final question for you today, what makes you proud to be a part of Texas A&M and the Aggie community?
Yeah, the tradition and leaving a legacy. I'm proud to say that I've coached here, and I know I'll be somewhere. Like Coach Elko said that he was in the Sistine Chapel and there was an Aggie that came up to him. He was in the Sistine Chapel in his vacation, and there was an Aggie fan there. Just knowing that someday I'll be somewhere, Lord knows where it'll be, and somebody's going to come up and say, hey, aren't you Coach Moffitt? And, that just being a part of this university and seeing and knowing how much the Aggie Nation loves this place. And there's been places I've worked where the fan base loved the football program or the basketball program or the track program. But I really believe this from the bottom of my heart, that the people here love this university and all that it stands for first, and then the sport team second. And that's what makes this place so special to me.
Coach Moffitt on Answering the Call podcast. Coach, thank you again for your time today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Answering the Call. If you're enjoying this show, please rate and follow us on your podcast streaming platform of choice so you can be the first to know when a new episode drops. As always, a big thank you to our incredible podcast producer, Megan Rohde, to 12 Man Productions and Texas A&M Athletics NIL Department. We also extend our heartfelt gratitude to every donor and season ticket holder for always answering the call through loyal support of Texas A&M Athletics and our student athletes. We will be back soon with more content. Thanks, and gig 'em.